You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, around 11 p.m. Today, we are playing the final chapter of The Night Hunter, a cold case game from University Games under their Murder Mystery Party series. A game that just came out of nowhere, is unusually long for one of these games, and quite interesting and unexpected. We've played the first 3 chapters over the last 2 days. How long this final chapter will take, I don't know. It could be as short as 2 or 3 hours. It could go longer. I feel like we sort of are just getting a handle on some of the philosophy of the design of this game, and it's a little uneven, so it's hard to predict what we're going to see. But a number of unusual things in this game. If you're joining me for the entire playthrough, I hope that you have a pen and paper nearby and you're keeping notes of your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, any thoughts you have for our review after we finish playing it. So after we finish playing it tonight, we will talk about it. Shall we do a short recap? I guess before we do, we should say a little bit about plans for the rest of the week. Tomorrow I'll take off, and then I'll be back on Friday and Saturday night to play through the first 2, at least the first 2 of 3 games in the green suspects box behind me, which is Claire Harper Eternal Investigator. And I've talked about why I'm so keen to review this second box of suspects, because last year I played it completely solo and was a little bit cavalier about it and careless, and my review wasn't very positive. And I'm very keen to play it with a larger group and see what we all think of it. So I hope you'll join me for Suspects. We'll definitely play it Friday and Saturday night. It's possible that we'll try to play that 3rd episode on Sunday night. So play it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and get it played. In addition to that, on Sunday at 3 p.m., we do have a new letter from Dear Holmes starting a new case, and we'll be playing that at 3 p.m., our normal Sunday afternoon time. So I hope you can join me for that. All right, with that said, let's do a very brief recap. Yesterday I did a longer recap, but we've got a serial killer that's attacking people, 3 victims in 1996. They're all attacked, and signs were left near their body and letters sent into the paper, all sort of alluding to the idea that the person killing them is sort of taking on the roles of different animals, and there are bite marks on them. We've nailed down his MO. He uses chloroform to knock them out. He injects them with strychnine in the neck, always in the same place, and then stages their bodies. Someone confesses to the killings, knows lots of details about them, so it's a open and shut case. They get convicted. That's this person, Bill Maddox. Then 25 years later, we've got a new victim killed with the same MO. And it turns out, obviously, that the original killer wasn't ever caught, that the person in jail didn't really kill those original people. And we've got letters to and from, it looks like, the person in jail and the real killer. On our last chapter, which you can see the nice little illustration. Each chapter had an illustration. So chapter 1 is the person goes back and talks to the guy who's in jail for the killings 25 years ago. I forget exactly what. Chapter 2, I guess we investigated the old killings. And then chapter 3, we've tracked down the killer to his old cabin in Barstow, California. I should say all the killings are all over the country, and they're killings of people who worked in wildlife, nature, museums, and such, and he seems to be taking revenge for the animals. We tracked down this person. Now we've got a full ID. We know exactly who it is, and it's the brother of the person who confessed, the younger brother, and the person who confessed to the crimes is the older brother who is trying to protect his younger brother. So that's why he confessed, and now we have a full identification and name of the real killer. We've sent the police to his new apartment in Tennessee. We've determined what museum he's planning to kill someone at next. He's traveling down I-40, stopping off in these nature museums and killing someone at them. So we know where he's going to strike, in Knoxville, Tennessee. What museum? We don't know who exactly he's trying to kill there. But we figured out his current address. We sent the police there. They broke in. He's not there. And now he knows we're onto him. And the fear is that he's going to kill someone before he gets caught. So chapter 4 is starting off with us the police having gathered some evidence at his new apartment, and he's on the run. Maybe he's going to try to kill someone new. Anything I missed? Anything important to talk about before we open up chapter 4? Let's check in with the chat. So only 7 viewers today. We've winnowed them down. Each day it winnows down a little bit more. 4 likes. If you do like the content on this channel, I hope you'll subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Or if you don't like this video, if you don't like me playing this game, you can give it a thumbs down. And maybe in the coming days and week, I will try to do a little Gencon recap from my time at Gencon and review some of the games that I picked up there. Okay, let's open chapter 4. Let me just put things away here. We may need to get out our old documents, but for now we can sort of clear the table and open up a new chapter. Okay, so here's our chapter 4. Art. Looks like he's chasing down someone, a woman. We don't know why. We don't know who that is. We actually got a letter from the killer at some point to his brother saying he's fallen in love with a girl who likes animals also. And then a new person was killed 25 years after the original. And we assumed that Carolyn Parker, which is the new woman that was killed 25 years later, was the woman that he fell in love with, and she wronged him and he killed her. But maybe he's actually has a girlfriend, and maybe she's in danger. All right, so here we go. Let's get out our items for chapter 4. It actually feels very thin. This could be a very short session. Feels like less items than in any of the other chapters. So this could be a short session. Let's see. Agents. Urgent. Get to the agent in charge immediately from the desk of Captain Snow. Agents, you must move quickly. Jeffrey Vulpes probably knows we raided his apartment and are closing in. We need to make the arrest today before sunset. Our profiler has been reading through the journals found at his apartment and is confident that Vulpes will accelerate the attack on his next victim. We need to identify his target and provide them immediate protection. I've sent over a list of possible victims for your consideration. Hope this assists you with your search. See if you can find a pattern. Maya Goldman, our profiler, has told us she believes the night hunter will strike again at sunset, which is only an hour away. An hour is our timeline here. Objective 4.1, determine who is the night hunter's final target. Okay. So they're examining the journals found. Whoa, it's a cipher. Okay, that could take us some time. All right, let's take a look at what we've got here. 2 faxes over. These are journals found at his new apartment. Let's take a close look here. Today, I flee in the night again. Yes, again. I am always on the run, much like the wolf. Yes, like the wolf. Still, I can feel the wolf blood in my veins and in my heart. A new city, a new hunting ground. Yes, let the woods claim me. Let the city claim me. Find my heart in the madness as I howl at the moon. Today, I am a madman. A human being, but a madman, yes. No? Yes, I am. I can stop this. Eileen, what have I done? What did I do to you, to them? But no, they deserved it. They did. They think they can do what I do. They think they were smarter than me. Yes, they do think that. But they're not smarter than me now. Today. I can't do this anymore. I can't. I am the one who failed. I could have been anything I wanted. Why am I this? Why am I like this? 4 down. 4 down and 2 to go. No, I don't have to do it. I can choose my path. I can choose who I am. Today, I got a job. No one knows what I've done, and I was able to get a job. The Little Rock Museum of Natural Science. It feels like home to me to be back. It feels like maybe I can find a home here, like maybe Mom would have been proud of me, like maybe Eileen would have been proud of me. She cared for the animals, didn't she? But now I will. Now I can finally rest. Today. The last 2 haunt me. They call at me in my dreams. They urge me to complete what I started, but I will not. I will not continue down that path. They cannot force me to. They are my friends, and they will be friends. Today. You would be proud of me. I had a date today, an actual date with an actual woman. Her name is Caroline Parker. She works at the museum with me. We got lunch together today and talked about the exhibit. She seems sweet to me. I think you would be proud of me, Mom. She even has your smile. We spent the entire hour talking about the exhibits. She was very impressed by how much I know about foxes and snakes. I think I'm going to ask her out again someday. My first real date. Okay, so he did kill Carolyn Parker. She was the one that, after a 25-year gap, he couldn't help himself and he ended up killing this woman, just like his brother feared. So this is actually not a diary entry from the current time. This, because he's in Tennessee now, this is a diary entry from the place he just fled from, the Little Rock Museum where he just killed Carolyn Parker. So now he's taken on a new identity and moved. But now we have what looks like a cipher. So we're going to have to look at this in more detail later, but he's got the letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, and then he's got an E instead of an O, P, Q, and then he's repeating again. P, Q, H, E, T, T, V, W, X, B, Z. That's weird. Okay, so it looks like it's probably 26 letters of the alphabet, but occasionally they start getting replaced. So, for example, LMNO turned into an E, PQR turned into an H, unless that's an RQR. S turned into an E, T, U turned into a T, V, W, X, Y turned into a B, and then a Z. So we've got 26 letters here. Most of them match to themselves. Some have been replaced. Then he's got his snake circle and other symbols. Then we've got a whole set of symbols here that aren't these symbols. They're different. But it looks like lots of repeats, including lots of certain symbols repeated, like, well, actually, this one and this one are different, but lots of common symbols. So if you had to guess, this would be some kind of substitution cipher. So it's in a nice clean grid, but it wouldn't be strange if these were less than 26 symbols and we've got a substitution cipher. How about the count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No. Okay. We'll have to figure that out in a bit. Anna says in the chat, the symbols are the animals he used. You think the symbols are the animals he used, huh? Well, he did use a couple that were ears that looked like this on their side. And he did use this symbol. He used this symbol, he used this symbol, and he used the snake. But he only did 4 murders. There's a lot more than that. Some of these look like they might be bats, but some of these we've never seen before. Don't know what these are all about at all. Okay. Let's see what he's writing here. We'll come back to that. Oh, this is what went wrong with Carolyn Parker today. She made a fool of me. I let myself trust someone and I am betrayed. She's married. She has a husband. We talked for an hour and she never mentioned it. What a liar. She never told me she was married. She had every opportunity to. She was leading me on. That is what it was. She was playing with my feelings and my emotions. I hate her. I hate her, and I hate this place. I want to go home. I want to be back home with my friends. I miss my friends. I have them in pieces, parts of them with me. Today, they are calling to me, my friends are. I can't fight it. I can't fight the call. So close to freedom, so close to rest. Why did I think I could ever stop? Why did I think I could do this alone? Today, she can't hurt me anymore. No one can hurt me anymore. I am one with the night. I always was. I always will be. How foolish of me to think I could ever be anything else. There is just one more calling to me, and then maybe I can rest. Tomorrow I can rest. Okay, so he's going to kill someone. I wonder if, let's think, there's a couple of things that are interesting. He's killed 3 people originally, then he killed Carolyn Parker, and now he says there's just one more. And in his previous journal entry, before he killed Carolyn Parker, when he's hot on her, he says 4 down and 2 to go. So it sounds like 6 was always the plan. Carolyn Parker was number 4. Wait, Carolyn Parker. Carolyn Parker was number 5. Remember, we've got the 3 originals, and then the missing woman was the other one that was never connected with him. So those are his original 4, and then 25 years later, he's killed his 5th. His 5th. So now 1 more is left. And it kind of sounded like maybe for each person, there's an animal friend of his that he's trying to sort of retrieve. Did anyone else get that impression? He's like, there's one more calling to me. It almost feels like remember he had his original friends in his original museum that were the stuffed animals. And it kind of feels like to me like those animals got sent away and he's sort of reclaiming them. And I wonder if it's going to turn out that his original 6 stuffed animals, taxidermied animals, got sent to these different museums. And he's reclaiming them all. Okay, so those are his journal entries. We've also got this found in Jeffrey Vulpes's apartment. They call me a monster, but I cannot see it. I'm blind to all things in light. I see not, but I can hear all. Tonight I fly through the trees and caves and find you. I squeak with joy as I locate you. The echoes of great halls and spaces reflect my joy. I am coming for you. Okay, well, we know what this is, yours, Y-O-U-R-S. That's how he signs all his things. I'm not sure why he hasn't signed it here. And we also know what he's talking about here. This is a bat, obviously. So his last attack is going to be as a bat. And have all the animals been night animals? Raccoon comes out at night. Snake could go hunting at night. So these may all be night animals. But we knew his final animal is a bat. Don't know why this is blank. Like, we know this is yours, but we don't know why he didn't spell it out here. And what have we got here? A little pamphlet. Are we told where this was found? This looks like this might have been found in his apartment. Yes, it's from the Barstow Museum. This is it. It's gonna turn out here that he lost his friends. They got sent all over the place. Look at this. So this is a 1990 museum exhibition pamphlet. The attached pamphlet was discovered tucked into Jeffrey's journal, found in his apartment in Knoxville, Tennessee. So this was the original exhibit where he fell into madness with these animals. And it's going to turn out that they were sent all over the country, and he's been tracking them down. Come see the Creatures of the Night. The Barstow Museum of Natural Science is proud to host the Creatures of the Night exhibit on loan from the Knoxville Science and History Discovery Center. Get up close with 6 creatures of the night, nocturnal creatures that sleep during the day and stay up all night. Each creature's display has been painstakingly designed to replicate their natural habitats. Learn interesting facts about each animal, see skeletons and other remains, and even watch a documentary film about nocturnal animals. So this sort of makes sense that Knoxville is where this exhibit came from. It probably got sent to Barstow, California, where he encountered it, fell in love with these creatures, went mad thinking these creatures are his friends. And then this exhibit started traveling back through other museums on its way back to Knoxville. And he's followed it as it goes back. And he's killed one person and reclaimed one creature, maybe each step of the way. And finally, it's in Knoxville. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, the red fox. So yes, he killed someone as a fox. We know that. And he's outlined it. Foxes are known to be both sneaky and clever. Remember the signs on each dead body? He's taken, as he kills for this animal, pretending to be this animal, he's put the sign up, just as Jonathan predicted, like as if it was an exhibit. He's staging the humans as exhibits, and he's putting these words next to them. The red foxes, and look, Vulpes, he's taken his name from the species of the animal. In fact, he's taken all his names from as he moves into a place, because Pardus was one of his fake names. Vulpes is his current fake name. And these are other fake names of all the other animals he's taken. The red fox is the most commonly found fox and finds its habitat both in the wild and in urban environments. Foxes are known to be both sneaky and clever, so it's a good idea to keep an eye out for them. If you have foxes in your area, they'll surely find a way into your backyard. Foxes live in underground dens and can be found almost anywhere, which gives them great flexibility in finding homes. The leopard, which is Panthera pardus, and pardus is one of his names. While not exclusively nocturnal, most species of leopard carry out all of their hunting at night and rest during the day. I didn't know that. Leopards are great runners, jumpers, and climbers. Their athletic ability has a lot to do with their strong muscles. They're also ferocious creatures who have little respect for personal space. I think the words he put on that victim were ferocious and maybe disrespectful. They're solitary and will attack even other leopards who get too close. Interesting. Okay, the night snake, one of his other identities. The night snake is characterized by its pale color tones, nocturnal behavior, and strange hunting habits. The night snake is interesting because of its covert behavior among others of its species. Some animals are social in sharing information on hunting grounds, but the night snake is known to be secretive and duplicitous, and that it will often spend time in an area it knows to be a poor hunting ground so that fellow predators will think these barren areas are a prey-rich environment, thus keeping their actual hunting ground a secret. That's interesting. Okay, the raccoon. We know he killed as the raccoon already. Raccoons are the most common of the animals on display, but they are maybe the most interesting as well. Did you know that the word raccoon comes from a Powhatan word meaning animal that scratches with its hands? Raccoons may have cute paws and those adorable little masks, but they are the most obnoxious and violent of all urban scavengers. They will get into anything they can, including trash cans, garbage bags, and even doghouses. Be careful leaving animals out at night in raccoon territory. Okay. Then we've got the gray wolf. Those are the gray wolf ears. We've seen him use those. Canis lupus, and lupus was another name I believe he used, fake name. Gray wolves are from the canine family, just like household dogs, but don't think you can pet a gray wolf. They're savage creatures. Wolves do all of their hunting at night and generally hunt in packs. They hunt prey that are much larger than themselves because wolves have gluttonous appetites. They can eat as much as 30 pounds of meat in one sitting. Wow. Okay, more words that were found on the signs. And now we have our last creature who he has not recovered or killed as. The vampire bat. Vampire bats aren't really vampires at all, but they get their nickname based on the fact that they drink blood instead of eating meat. And no, they don't suck it up either. They use their small tongues to lick up blood, which is pretty gross to us humans. Don't be surprised if you have never seen one, though. Vampire bats, like the rest of the animals featured here, are really... Okay, so I saw my little light come on my little plugin that I wrote that helps alert me when I get disconnected, that I did get disconnected. Can the chat let me know if I'm reconnected? And I think because I get that signal quickly that we didn't miss much. I was in the middle of reading the vampire bat entry. Is that right? Okay, so my plugin is doing its job. And we can go back here. Okay, they use their tongues to lick up blood. Don't be surprised if you've never seen one. Vampire bats, like the rest of the animals featured here, are really only active at night. During the day, they sleep in tall, vacant structures like barns, water towers, church steeples, and warehouses. But don't go climbing any water towers to find one. Just come out to see our Creatures of the Night exhibit. Okay, so if you were to predict what signs he would make for the bat when he kills someone, what would they be? During the day, they sleep in tall, vacant structures. I don't know, like tall and vacant. But he likes to use insults, so I'm not sure. But here's his words that he's going to use to make his signs. And if we look at our K3 note, there's our killer, by the way, just to remind you. And there he is in current day. And I want you to notice, we figured out he was using this ID, fake ID card, in living at Stanford Boulevard. And notice his name, Jeffrey Chiroptera, which is the species name for the vampire bat. So 100% confirmed that he's taking on the role of the bat here. Now we've got one more piece of evidence from this chapter 4 folder before we open an envelope, and we've got a list here of possible victims. So we're going to try to identify which one he's going to kill. He says one more, just one more, and the animals are telling me. He hates the woman he kills her. So we don't know whether it's a man or a woman. Okay, well, is anyone here working in the bat part of the museum? Let's get out our museum guides and see if we have any information about the Knoxville Museum that could help us. Okay, so here's the Knoxville Museum, known for its underground exploration exhibit of nocturnal creatures in their natural habitats. Now, known for its underground exploration exhibit. So you might expect it would be someone working underground running this exhibit, but it's not going to be anyone who works. Well, let's think. How did he pick his people to kill? I mean, he killed people at museums, but we really didn't dig deeper into it, like which particular people. But if you had to guess, you would guess people running the exhibit, right? But do we really know that? How did he pick specific people? All right, let's think about this for a second from a meta standpoint, from a pulling back a little bit. We do have this cipher. So it's possible that the cipher tells us who he's going to plan to kill, and that's how we would figure out which one. Or it's possible that we should be able to pick it out by their name or their position. Nothing suggests that he killed people based on their names, but it would make sense if he's killing people involved in the exhibits. I'm not sure we actually settled on how he's picking his victims at each museum, though. Just that he was picking people. But were they all people running the exhibits? Jonathan says there are also potential online documents. Anna says he killed the curators. Maybe we need to track him down in a tall vacant building. Stacy says, I list all the letters that are in the wrong space. Maybe that's the letters in the name. Could we look at the victim's positions? Okay. Lots of ideas here. Let's talk for a second. It looks like this is going to be a short chapter. So let's take our time and not try to solve it quickly, but try to be methodical like we're real detectives. So there's online information, there's the cipher, and then there's trying to understand why he killed the different people. I think we should use Anna's idea first. We'll sort of try to sneak up on this rather than solve it quickly. So let's see if we can't at least convince ourselves that we know who he's killing in each place. So he killed the woman running the exhibit to steal her badges. That was Eileen Townsend. That's the missing person. Let's just make sure we know her role. She wasn't the first one killed, but she was one of the ones they hadn't recovered. Okay, so Eileen Townsend was killed. Eileen Townsend? Why does this say 2021? Oh, because Eileen Townsend was recovered in 2021. Okay, but she wasn't killed in 21. She was killed in 96 when he broke in. All right, so I want to see if we can't find what her role was. Maybe we got that in chapter 2. Here he is writing about her. He saw Terry. Carolyn Parker is the new one that was killed. Where is Eileen Townsend? So they sent his friends away. He went to chase them down. He attacked her in the parking lot. Maybe she dropped her keys. So we actually have the information about her. Oh, I see. I was looking at the wrong. So there's Eileen. All right, let me give you a better view here. Okay, so Carolyn Parker was the recent one that restarted all this. And then, so I'm trying to find our sheet that told us what position they all held. Although he could have killed Eileen. He didn't stage Eileen, but actually he did stage her with the card with the names. So I wonder if I didn't file it somewhere else. Somewhere we have a list of who worked where in this place, though. Doesn't seem to be in there. Maybe it's in my chapter 2 thing. Yes. Okay. So, Eileen Townsend, the missing person he killed, was a museum curator. Okay, let's keep some notes here. So, Eileen, who he killed, was the museum curator. Okay. That's Eileen. We'll separate these. Okay, that's Eileen. Sarah Bennett, which was the earliest killed. She was going to give a speech, right? She was the exhibit curator. Sarah Bennett, exhibit curator. Next up was Braxton Cohen, the guy found in the trash can. He was the program director. All right. Then Alanya Hubbard, the last victim before in the original killings. She was an educator. So Alanya was an educator. Educator at Mitchell. Well, I should make better notes so you can see them. Educator at Mitchell. And is there any value in looking at these different, does the things tell us about who's doing what? No. Okay. So, and then lastly, we've got Caroline Parker, the new woman. What was her job? This was the job that reopened this whole case. Recent murder in Little Rock. Caroline Parker. He was going to give a speech. She was doing research. And then we've got notes. Do we know her specific job? We know he's talking about her here. Or, yeah. Talking about the exhibit. She cared for the animals. The first woman he killed, Eileen. Or not the first woman, but he did kill Eileen. And then this one has a date. Caroline Parker. She works at the museum with me. Talking about the exhibit. Okay, so I don't have a clear job for Caroline Parker. Maybe it's laid out on the online evidence for her. But he's killed an educator, a director, a curator, but it's always people deeply involved with the exhibits. So I think if we were looking at these, we'd probably rule out janitors, front desk associates, etc. So I'm trying to think what's the best way to do this. Maybe we can, if we don't want to mess up this, we can just put some things here and mark on here. All right, so probably not the janitor, front desk associates, Information desk associates. I don't think he kills those people. Security officer, certainly not. Store associate, no. Security officer, no. Front desk, no. Janitor, no. Researcher, probably not. Director of exhibitions, that would be a very good candidate. Collections assistant, no. Operations technician, no. Guest services, no. Event coordinator, no. Programs development manager, no. Curator, there's our good chance. Head of security, no. Museum curator, yeah, that's another good one. Front desk associate, no. Attendant, no. Operations technician, no. Front desk, no. Attendant, no. Museum store supervisor, no. Exhibit maintenance. He hasn't killed anyone else doing maintenance, but possibly. Store associate, no. Janitor, no. Okay, so archivist, he's never killed an archivist, but I suppose those are possibilities. Probably not, though. And exhibit maintenance, that's another one. So we have some researcher, probably not. So we have some good candidates. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 potentials that we would consider. So we do need a way to narrow things down. All right. He certainly likes the curators, though. All right, so that was our one attack. Not enough to know exactly who he's going to attack. The other suggestion was to hit the cipher. I think we're going to save that for last. Jonathan pointed out something important, that we also have online stuff. So let's remind ourselves what our assignment is. Find his final target. Okay, so we have to find the person here he's going to attack. We might want to reread his notes about the one person left. But let's check online to see if there's some additional witness statements for us online. So there's our chapter 4. The fact that it's a woman in this photo makes you think it's a woman. Does he refer to her? Does he refer to the woman as his target? Maybe we should reread that. In fact, let's reread that first before we get it told to us. Where's my note? What did I do with my note? I've been careless with the new documents. That's not a good trait. I've shuffled it into one of these folders somehow. Why would I do that? Why wouldn't I take better care of the key evidence? Maybe someone saw what I did. Why would I not take better care of the key evidence in the case? That I would shuffle it in. What on earth would possess me to do that? It really feels like 90% of detective work is keeping your notes organized and not losing them. Something I fail at regularly. It's not got anything in it. What on earth, Jesse? What on earth are you doing? Why would I just shove it into one of these folders that's organized by chapter? I don't understand what's wrong with me. And here's my second pass through these documents, looking for stuff that shouldn't be where it shouldn't be. Nothing. Someone saw where I put the evidence. Feel free to speak up. It must have been here, right? When we were looking at this, I must have somehow stuck it in here. What on earth? Chat says, check Jesse, are they just to your right? No, they're not. I'm looking for just the couple of faxes with his new diary and the cipher. Okay, here they are. That's just ridiculous that I would just throw them in another folder. This is how real crimes go unsolved. The detective just filed things wrongly. Ridiculous. There are a lot of items in this case, but that's just unacceptable. All right. That just reminds me. What is our motto of this whole channel that we haven't used in a year? Who remembers? Jonathan's been here the longest. Jonathan, what's our motto of this channel? Hannah knows it. The notes solve the case. Then this is how I almost got us into trouble. The man does not solve the case. The woman does not solve the case. The notes solve the case. All right. So before we work on the cipher, let us go to the online element and see. This is why I was looking for this. I was looking for this to see if he describes whether his last victim is a woman or not. So he's very mad at Caroline. He kills Caroline. Then he says, I got a job. I had a date. I guess this is his last statement here. He kills her. He wants to go home. I miss my friends. I have them in pieces. Parts of them. He has their teeth is what he has. And he's so close to freedom. Why did I think I could do this alone? She can't hurt anyone. No one can hurt me anymore. I am one with the night. There's just one more calling to me, and then I can rest. Tomorrow I can rest. Okay, so he doesn't tell us anything about whether it's male or female. All right, let's go to our online. Let's see if we can get some extra evidence to help us. Determine the night. Look at this goddamn bullshit about leaking information. We'll talk about that. All right, I'm getting a little on tilt. I gotta relax. That's in my complaint list when we review the game. All right, well, there's no witness statements. So we have everything we are going to get. It seems like our next step has got to be the cipher or this last note. They call me a monster. I cannot see it. I'm blind to all things in light. I cannot, but I can't. I see not, but I can hear all. Tonight I fly through the trees and caves and find you. I squeak with joy as I locate you. The echoes of great halls and spaces reflect my joy. I'm coming for you. And then this is our information about the bat. During the day, they sleep in tall, vacant structures like barns, water towers, church steeples, and warehouses. All right. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a break. I am going to make a scan and print out of our cipher so that we can write on it if we want to. And so I'll see you all in 8 minutes and we'll solve this case. Okay, we're back, and we're going to try to attack this page with cipher on it. It actually looks like it may very well be 3 different kinds of information. Like this is one, this is a separate one, this is a separate one. So I've made a scan of this that we can work on. Let's just... I do notice there's also a little fold here. I'm just going to fold it there just to see if it doesn't seem to yield anything. But it does seem to divide these up into 2 groups. And I do want to also note how weird it is that this Z is up in the corner and so is this H. But let's start with this. And one of the observations we made is that most of the letters are normal in their right order, but some of them aren't. So let's just focus on this for a second. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. So this one is out of place. O, P, Q, that's out of place. R, S, that's out of place. T, that would be a U, that would be out of place. U, V, W, X, Y. Okay, so these letters are out of place. E, H, E, T, B. And those match to, I'm in O, P, Q, R, and then S, T, U, V, W, X, Y. Okay, well, what do you see there? Y, O, U, R, S. There's our yours. So if that's our first thing that we figured out, that he left this blank, there's our yours. But now what if we arrange these letters in the proper order here? Like this is letter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we do that with these, we get B, E, T, H, E. All right. Let us now look and see if we have a Beth. It wouldn't be surprised if we had 2 Beths and we have to find the right one. Let's see. Beth, B-E-T-H, Edelson, Beth E. Beth E is Beth Edelson. And we've marked her as a possible candidate. She's the archival assistant. It's good we didn't rule her out. Any other Beths? No Beth first names. How about last names? All right. So we've got our person. It's Beth Edelson. We've got our victim. We've used up this. We have not figured out this yet. But let's do what it tells us to do. So let's go online. It looks like in the chat that Antina, our puzzle pro, has figured it out early. Okay. So let us now... That was cute. That was a cute puzzle. All right, so now let's go to the solution to this. Pay no attention to the thing underneath it, which is leaking information. Okay, so what's the target? Amanda Lynn, the archivist, Beth Edelson, the archival assistant, Brianna Elliott, or Rita Spidell. All right, we believe it's Beth Edelson. Correct. Use the alphabet in journal entry 2 with the letter found in Jeffrey Volpus's apartment. Translations from Jeffrey's alphabet are below. Notice the letter found in the apartment has blank spaces where he usually writes yours, and notice that these letters are replaced with other letters in the alphabet. If you follow the cipher, the answer is B-E-T-H-E. Look at the list of possible victims to see there is a Beth E on the list. You will find Beth Edelson. All right. And now we go back to the solution. Oh, so we don't go back anywhere. We just open our next envelope. Chapter 4, Envelope 1. We completed Objective 4.1, Department of the United States. Okay, so let us open up this envelope that you guys can see too. And see what information we have. We're probably done. Well, we're not done with the cipher yet. Looks like there's more information on that page. Let's see what we've got here. Urgent. Get to agent in charge immediately. From the desk of Captain Snow. Agents, good work in identifying Beth Edelson as the intended victim. Unfortunately, we may have been too late. Edelson was not located at her work or her home. We tracked her phone's location and found it on the side of the road near her home. We spoke to her roommate who told us her last contact with Beth was just before she left for her nightly run. She knew the route that Edelson normally runs and was able to mark it on a map of downtown Knoxville. We can't search all of Knoxville, but we know that Volpus hides along his victim's route, so we can use that to figure out what precinct to search. Determine the location where Jeffrey Volpus is hiding. All right, so here is our map of downtown Knoxville. Well, okay. So here's her route. She went missing during it. We know bats like to live in, don't forget, all vacant structures like barns, water towers, church steeples, and warehouses. So we've got an old water tower, which seems like that's perfect for him. It's old, it's tall. He's not going to be going to something fishy. He's not going to be going to the restaurant. But why are we so sure he's not in the church? And why are we so sure he's not in the barn? So I have a theory. Does anyone else want to take a theory? I believe I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let the channel take some time and work on it. So let me give you your hint. Your hint is that you can't assume it's the old water tower. It could be the water tower, it could be the church, or it could be Bertram's barn, or the warehouse for that matter. These are all valid places where a bat would go based on our description here. They sleep in tall vacant structures, barns, water towers, church steeples, or warehouses. Okay, so what is the solution? Who can spot it? Who can figure it out? You want me to put a timer up? Let's give everyone a couple minutes to work on it. I know the answer, but let me put my timer up here. And where's my adjustment thing? I don't know if we need a full 10 minutes. Can I adjust this down? Did I write the code to do that? Yes, I can. Okay, I'm going to set it for 6 minutes. So you've got 6 minutes to work on this before I will say the answer. And the chat can feel free to type the answer in the chat if you figure it out, but don't, if you want to work on it without getting a hint, don't look at the chat. I'll keep track here by looking in the chat and see who figures it out. You want to look at the journal, huh? What was the postcard location stuff? I'm not going to bring any of these things you guys are requesting yet because you're requesting extra documents, which could be useful. Different documents are being requested by different people, but I feel like you've got enough information to come up with the answer. You don't need to come up with the exact location, but you need to figure out what's happening here. I'm gonna go get myself some tea while you guys are working on this. Okay, 1 minute. Oh, you guys can cheat and you can back up the video, I guess. I didn't think about that. Okay, so it looks like the chat is focusing in on the solution. Anna figured out the basics of it as well. So okay, so our time is up. Let me turn off this overlay. Okay, so what I saw is that we've got some very stereotyped, some very suspicious looking street patterns of the streets. Like, look at this one. And when I saw this cipher originally, the first thing that occurred to me, actually, I don't know the first thing, but it absolutely occurred to me that these could be street intersection diagrams that would be useful in a map. So as soon as this map came out and I saw these weird patterns, I knew that that's what we were looking at. So these are sort of patterns of intersections, and this one is circled. So we're looking for this, looks like an arrow with lines through it. Now, I haven't spotted it here. I just knew that that was what we were working on. So where is that thing? It looks like it's right. And it's this one right here. So there's our, we can fold this. This is our copy. So here's our symbol, which is right here. That's the diagonal line. That's the top. There's the cross going through it right there. Okay, so it's in this grid here. And that tells us that it's the St. Francis Church. Okay, everyone on board with that? So look at all the different, he's got the 4 different places it could be: the water tower, the barn, the warehouse. And let's see, this one is, which place is this of all of these? Looks like this could be the water tower maybe. And then which one is this? This is down here. This one is this one over here. Can't see. This one, I believe, is this thing area over here. And this is this area over here. So he's got his 4 potential places picked out, and he's chosen this one, St. Francis Church. Okay, let's go solve that. And now we've completed 2. We've used 2 of the 3 codes, and we're about ready to pinpoint where he's hiding. Let's go to it. All right, so back to chapter. Determine what location he's hiding. We're going to click in here. There's our choices. I don't, the 4, they keep picking like 4 possibilities that are way narrowing down the set, almost like you could get it by accident. That seems like a terrible mistake. Like, if players incorrectly guessed that he was hiding in the warehouse, then they came here and they'd say, oh, no warehouse. I guess it can't be that. By the way, Jonathan was saying that maybe it's the place closest to his home, but then they raid his home. I don't think this is his home. I think this is the girl's home. This is her running path. So she never made it home. So we're looking at her running path where he would have hung out. All right. So anyway, we've got the church. Click. Correct. Use the strange symbols on journal entry 2 and notice they match up with roads on the downtown Knoxville map. The circled symbol is closest to 2 locations: Four Guys Burgers, Fries, and St. Francis Church. One of the journal entries talks about a bat bomb. It does? In the journal entry found in the killer's apartment, all the animalistic symbols representing his victims are scratched off except the bat, signifying he hasn't killed Beth yet. Also, as a push to look at the animal pamphlet. The animal pamphlet under the vampire bat is an underlined section that says they're often found sleeping in tall structures like barns and water towers, church steeples, and warehouses. Those are all locations on the map. The church is the closest entry to the roads found circled in the journal. Okay. So everything's right, except I don't know what they're talking about a bat bomb. Okay. Oh, Jonathan was saying, I wasn't saying it was the circled home, but where he actually was staying on Stamford. That's not a bad idea. I'm not even sure it's on this map, though. Okay, so we have solved that question of where he's hiding out. I think that means we can now open our final envelope of the entire game. Do not open until you solve objective 4.2, which we have. All right, here we go. Our final envelope. All right. Here we go. I keep clicking the wrong button. Okay. Urgent. Get to the agent in charge immediately. From the desk of Captain Snow. Agents, thanks to your quick deductions, we identified the church as Vulpus's most likely location. We're sending teams to the area, but with time running short, we have to narrow their search area so we don't waste a single minute. The team searching Vulpez's apartment found a page of his journal rolled up and taped behind a desk drawer, and we think it may help us find Edelson. Her life hangs in the balance. I have sent it along with this message. Good luck. Determine where the Night Hunter is going to kill Beth Edelson before time runs out. Yikes, this is really putting some stress on us. Okay, so here's his last journal entry, and then we have a map. So we're going to have to pick which of these places is where he's going to kill her. And if we're wrong, her death is going to be on our hands. That's kind of stressful. All right. So this was taped in a drawer. Today, I protected my friends like you used to protect me. She was going to take them away, and I stopped her. That was the one person he killed. Today, she wanted to lock my friends away in a cold, dark room where they would be all alone. I had to stop her. That's the snake murder. What murder did we call this? Was this the fox, or was this the fox? I forget which one this was. Today, he was making a mockery of my friends, making them sound evil, making children scared of them. He guided night walks and told the children scary stories about them. My friends are nothing to be afraid of. It is me he should have feared. So that was the raccoon killing. So these are all entries for the different people he killed, including the one he plans to kill. That's pretty cool. Today, she was a bully. Anything it took to get her way. I remember what you taught me about bullies. Today, didn't she think she was smart? Standing up there for all to see like she was an expert. She could never know them like I do. This was our speaker. Tomorrow, she lied to me. I'll make sure she won't lie to anyone ever again. Okay, so he's made an entry for each of his murders, telling us a little bit about why he killed that person. But I don't think this really helps us, except that he staged each one. He staged the raccoon like garbage. He staged the snake woman lying on the ground like a snake. He staged the leopard one. I guess that's this. This is the leopard, right? He staged the leopard one up in a tree where a leopard would hang out. I forget how he staged this one, but this might make you think he was going to stage her hung upside down somewhere, maybe hanging from a rafter or something. So, but I'm not sure that helps us at all. I think our cipher is going to help us. Let's take a look at our map again and see if there are any places there. So around the church, Blueberry Road, White Bear Avenue, Elm Street, Duane Drive, Williams Parkway, none of that helps us. Let's quickly check the other maps we have of the town and make sure they don't have extra information that's useful for us. Because remember, we do have some other maps of Knoxville. I think it's just going to come down to that cipher, though. So here are the maps, the other maps we have. Let's just make sure that that's not helpful. Courthouse, church. This is downtown. There's the church. I'm not sure this even has that area on it. That's where you lived. Sorry. I was just trying to see if there are any landmarks on the bigger map that help us. All right, so it feels to me that there's no way, based on map data, that we could know which of these areas. It feels to me like the answer has to be in this cipher. So let's think here. What is happening? What have we got here in our cipher? So one possibility is it's not even a cipher. It's just that if we draw out all the bat symbols, we get an actual pattern. Shall we take a look at that? Let's just see. If we do all the bats, I've got a couple of copies, so let me just see here. If we do all the bats, do we get a spatial pattern? Because it kind of looks like we might, to me. Right? Like the fact that these are connected is very suspicious. Like, why are these all connected if this wasn't a spatial thing? And maybe we have to do all the animals that he killed, but right now, this is surely seeming like we've got patterns here. So, this is the church. It's a symmetrical view of the church, right? There is our church. And there looks like a location relative to the church. This seems like it's here to me. Looks like the channel is in agreement. And it looks like Stacy had figured out the connected bats as well. Sorry. All right, so I think we've got it. Let's see if I can do that properly so everyone can see what we're thinking. I can use my cubes to give us a better view. All right, so there's our church. There's our church. Upper right corner is our E. So that looks about right. The only alternative way you might imagine him pointing out a place would be with the other animal symbols. Look, he's got like teeth in there. But if you tried to circle the other animal symbols, it seems like you would get tons of additional stuff. Like the snakes don't seem to be a pattern, and they would give you everywhere else. So there'd be no reason to favor one of them over the other. So I think we got it. And it turns out this wasn't a substitution cipher. But that's pretty cool. I mean, this is some guy's messed up mind. All right, so I think we've got it. Here we go. This could very well be the end of the game for us here. Matt is leaving us. I'd like to hear your comments about the game afterwards. All right, so we're going to save Beth. Although, should we consider that he could be doing the right thing by saving his animal friends? No, he's insane. Let's stop him. All right, so we're going to our page. We're going back to the chapter. Okay, we figured out where he's hiding, and now... Whoa, timed objective. That's scary. What the... Oh, I see. Determine where the night... So it wanted us to click that before we started trying to find her. And then it set up a timer. I'm going to look at that again so that we know. I want to see what told us we should have clicked that. Let me put this up so you don't get anything cut off. So here was the page we looked at when we go back to the chapter. It says, Objective 4.3, this is a timed objective. Only click the button when you are ready to continue. Take me to Objective 4.3. Okay, a little bit weird in terms of knowing when we should have clicked that. Now, it didn't take us longer than an hour to figure that out, so we're safe. Solve this objective before time runs out. You have 1 hour. That's pretty cool. Just wish it had been explained a little better. Okay, and then it's got hints, which we don't need, and the solution. Okay, well, it's got all 6 possibilities now. I like that. All right, and our answer was E, to remind you, right here in the upper right, which is our upper right here. All right, so we're going to say that the answer is E. Here we go. Sorry. Here we go. E. Correct. Use the map of animalistic symbols found in Journal 2. Cross out all of the bats and you'll have a shape that matches the aerial version of the church. Arial is spelled wrong. It should be A-E-R-I-A-L. The red circle shows he's going to kill Beth in section E. Here's a letter from Captain Snow. This is going to be our final little thing to read here. There's no more documents in the box. So this is the last we have. From the desk of Captain Snow. Agents. I can't thank you enough for what you did in the field today. Not only did you save the life of an innocent woman, you put the real night hunter behind bars. For the rest of his... Oh, behind bars. I expect a quick end to this trial, and I imagine the night hunter will be behind bars for the rest of his life. You deserve a commendation, agents, but these things don't come easily. Putting away killers and solving crimes is just another day in the job working for the agency. More crimes will come, and more cold cases are always waiting to be solved. But take some time off, at least. You deserve it. Just make sure you have your laptop. You'll probably be hearing from me. Sincerely, Captain Snow. Okay, so we finished the game. That's all of it. That's it. Okay. What we're going to do now, we're 36 minutes in. We've basically finished the game. Chapter 4 took us an hour and 45 minutes in total to solve. We're going to take... I usually take only the 5-minute breaks, but I wonder if we don't need more time to think about it. I guess we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll come back, and I'd like to hear everyone's final thoughts on the game. Favorite parts, least favorite parts, suggestions to the designers, constructive criticism, did you like it, etc. I'll see you in 5 minutes for our final spoiler-filled thoughts. Okay, we're back to give our final thoughts on The Night Hunter by University Games Murder Mystery Party series. Let me check in with the chat and see what the chat has to say. And it says, final thoughts. It's a good game. I would recommend it as easy difficulty with the caveat that there's one silly thing with the animal disguises in there. Overall story was interesting enough. Various puzzles, lots of reading, good quality documents, website mostly functional, although leaking info, as Jesse said. Jonathan says, overall, it was an enjoyable experience. Too easy, really, for us. You get a lot of varied content, lots with a forensic angle, which is fun. It's broken up to not be overwhelming. Seems like good for people wanting to get into the genre, see a little bit of everything, and have a longer experience. And it says, all in all, it was a good experience to play with you guys, and I don't mind that these were shorter sessions as well. Okay, John says, the transparencies being used for handwriting and fingerprints should be copied. Very clever. Let me just bring up my tablet so I can highlight stuff. Okay. Let's see. Let me look at my thoughts here that I've written down. Okay, so let me give some thoughts here, what I thought of this game. First of all, an overwhelmingly positive experience with this game. If the designers watch this, I hope what they take out of it is that they did a fantastic job. I would love to play more of these. I think for me, these longer cold case games are so rare. And so it's so enjoyable to spend a lot of time on a single case that you're already starting out for me with, I'm already happy going into it, just knowing that it's a long game. And, this company, a lot of these cold case games, there aren't that many of them in general, but the series of them that are, especially the ones that are on the longer side, tend to be made by these mail order companies that you can only order from their website. They tend to be expensive. And we've had a very mixed feelings about this University Games and their Murder Mystery Party. I talked in the beginning before we started that they've licensed games from the German company Adventure and the Crime Stories series. And the two that they licensed are some of our favorites. So those are really impressive. But those aren't sort of written in-house. And this game does have authors. And maybe I'll see if I can't bring that up. Remind us who the authors of this were. So these are credited to, it says, product manufactured under license, Indie Toy Lab, developed by Jordan and Mandy Goddard with Ryan Schoon. So it very well may be that this is another licensed game that this company has licensed from some new developers. Now, maybe someone may have heard of these three people, but I haven't. And it felt like we were playing something created by a slightly different group. Like it was different enough from other games we've played, other cold case games, whether it was this wonderful field guide that had all these tooth patterns, general information on fingerprint analysis, on chemicals, whether it was the use of the blacklight, which is the best use of blacklight I've seen in any of these games, whether it was the transparencies. Like it felt like this was sort of by people who were trying some new stuff. Okay, so I love the idea that University Games may be working with these people again and bringing these games out. This is miles better than the standalone Hunt-A-Killer boxes, which are mass marketed, the Murder at the Dive Bar and stuff like that. I'd love to see this game get broader play. I'm a little worried that it's not going to, but maybe we can help that a little bit by giving it some good reviews. It's available at Target now. I don't see it on Amazon. I'm not sure why. Okay, so overall, thrilled with the game. I've got a big list of positive things to say about the game and a few negatives. Length was fantastic. I do believe that Stacy says it is on Amazon now. Okay, so our primary complaint, if there is one for us, is just the difficulty level was on the easy side for our group. That doesn't mean it's not going to be perfect for some other group. It might be nice if this game had a difficulty rating on the box to sort of give you some perspective, but I know that's hard. It's obviously not easy to get difficulty games of these games to hit the right spot, but I do think that companies would be, if you're going to go to the trouble of making a hint system online, which this game has, it seems to me then you can err on the side of making it a little more difficult. If you've got hints, it seems like you should err on the side of making it a little bit more difficult, and then let people use hints if they need it. Whereas this game really didn't want to do that. It really did not want to make things too hard. And there were a couple of places that almost hurt, that it felt a little bit painful that they were easy because the premise of solving the puzzle was so intriguing. There was one about how does he pick his home, where on the map, and there was some interesting discussion of him walking from here to here. It almost felt like we were going to get this cool spatial puzzle, and then it turned out that basically you just find the 4 locations and he's right in the middle, and it was just almost trivial. And that was a shame. But leaving aside that easy issue, almost everything else was a real win. Like, this was a true deduction, cold case, psychological case where there was very minimal sort of puzzles, and all the ones that were there were sort of fun. There were a bunch of spatial puzzles having to do with the maps. We had like 4 different puzzles that had us trying to figure out where he would go or where something would be. And those puzzles are in general quite fun. On the easy side, but fun to do. And you could see, in contrast to something like the standalone Hunt-A-Killer games, which have some painful cipher solving that is just a lot of busy work once you figure it out. Here, that last act, that last chapter had these three things in one. And they were very nicely broken up. Like, they were 3 different things. We've had to figure out that there were 3 different things that were solved in 3 different ways. One was a little bit like a cipher. One was a very cool spatial map puzzle. And one was a sort of think outside of the box of what the animal was. Those were enjoyable to do. And then I think if you had to pick one reason why it was an enjoyable experience as a total experience, I think it has to come down to how compelling a story it was. And it really was a well-told story. And when you do such a good job of making a compelling story, like, it felt like we were in a sort of Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter story here. And it was framed very nicely. Like, we started out with this current day case, which was a reopening. It gave us a motive. It wasn't just like, here's a cold case, we want you to solve it. It was like, there's been a murder. Maybe we did something wrong with the cold case 25 years ago. That's already a very compelling setting. But then the fact that it's staged in all these different chapters and envelopes where we first get the current day case, and then they say, okay, this is questionable enough. Let's open up the old cases, and then we get the old cases, 3 old cases, which we dig into. And we've got this guy in jail. Did he do it? Is there a relationship with the new case? And then we get all these little psychological clues that the guy who's in jail might not have done it. Those are fun. Everything gets dripped out in piecemeal and fully engages us. And I think one of the reasons why the story works so well is one of the secrets to making a good movie or story, which is it's actually fascinating to look at this game because we, the player, is totally nameless in this game. We don't have a name. We don't have a life. We don't have a personality. Captain Snow doesn't really have a personality. He's got a name. But we, the players, are not, nowhere do we show up in this story. But who is front and center in this story is the villain. And I think one of the reasons, when you watch a serial killer movie or documentary, you're there for the villain. It's the villain that makes the movie work. And that is done as well in this case as we've ever seen it done. We had a killer. We got insight into the killer's psychology. We read a dozen letters, more than a dozen letters from the killer. We read notes that the killer left on the bodies to be found by the police that they sent to the newspaper. We read notes they sent to the family member in jail. We read notes from their journal that we weren't meant to find. I mean, we got a ton of writing from the killer. It was engaging. It was creepy. It painted a picture of an unstable villain that wasn't totally unsympathetic, right? Like we could see he sort of wanted to do good. He cared for the animals. He fell in love and then felt jilted. But he was a villain that was equal. He was of skill enough to deserve our attention and created some danger. And then the whole pacing of the thing where we got the current case, then the past cases, and then we've got, for the finale, a future case we had to stop. And that clever little use of a timer at the end to really make it feel like you're closing in, time's running out. So, but I think for me, the reason this worked more than anything is the quality of the villain and being able to see into their life and reconstruct his life, basically, is what we did. His origin story, and he became a real dangerous person, but one that we had some sympathy for. And then the fact that he was following some patterns, so we sort of could reconstruct his identities, where he was moving, where he would be. I mean, that was all very well done. And then Jonathan has already mentioned, like, the quality of all these different pieces of evidence, the bite mark stuff, all of the forensic stuff. We had fingerprint stuff that we had to look at. That was actually very clever. It felt completely reasonable. And we had some toxicology stuff. We had autopsy reports that we actually had to think about, figure out what was going on. So really very well done. Now, let me check in with the chat before I go back to some of our other little complaints here. John says, a couple of the puzzles were interesting because there seemed to be different tracks to solve them. Anna says, I was thinking they could have made it harder and put half the stuff in the hints. Back to difficulty, it would have been nice if we were tested on some of the more subtle elements in the story that we figured out. Anna says, yes, he was a good villain, horrific murderer, but I felt bad for him because he was obviously disturbed, had a hard childhood, had a brother that loved him. That's right. Jeff says, I don't know if I missed it. Didn't love the website and the way they handled solutions. Okay, so there are 2 more real complaints. The second real complaint here was the website. Now, I really love, you can tell when some love gets put into a project. And here's a good like signal that some love went into this project. There's a bunch of details here that clearly took them some real work to do. The transparencies were one, but like making these for the chapters and then using these to separate the different chapters so you don't quite know what you're doing. And then the use of the everything being in different folders. Everything was very high production quality here. And the website was not of poor quality, but it almost felt like it was rushed or created by someone who had a very limited understanding of the case or didn't have much love for the case. And so there were a couple really awkward things on the website. One of them that seems almost inexcusable to me is the leaking of information. And for anyone who doesn't know what that means, it basically means when you go, let's say, chapter 3, okay, you've got these different objectives. First, you're supposed to solve 3.1, and then you're not supposed to open the envelope until you do. Well, look what happens when you try to go to the website and you tackle objective 3.1. You can see already what the question for 3.2 is. That's very odd. It feels like that really could have been fixed very easily. In this case, it's no big deal. I think people overly worry about spoilers and stuff. I just don't understand why they did it that way. Now, another weird thing is throughout, you've got a folder called solution. That's really not the right label for that. The proper label for that should be like questions or solve, not solution. You don't click this to read the solution. You click the second one to get the questions you're supposed to answer. So that was a little confusing. Then it was weird that like you're only given a couple choices here. The choices seem to leak information sometimes. Sometimes they were very narrow, much more narrow set than the set you could have considered. Another weird thing with the website is you go here to back to main. Okay, you do this. And it said, do not visit the next chapter until you've completed the first one. That's fine. But it wasn't clear to me whether they always wanted us to start with the website or start with the printed material. And that led to some weird things. And you remember on the final chapter, we followed the instructions on the envelopes, which the envelopes don't tell you to go back to the website anymore, other than the beginning. So we got to chapter 4. We solved these first ones. And remember, because it leaks information, you don't dare look ahead until you're there. Well, when we got to 4.3 and we had solved it, we came here and we heard, this is a timed objective. Click it when you're ready to continue. That's not even clear. Like, should we be clicking this after we've solved it? Is that when we're ready to continue? So we solved it, we clicked here, and all of a sudden we were told, okay, now you should try to solve it, and you've got this hour countdown. So this is a very cute, clever idea. I like that they put a timer here, but it needed to be much more clear that we should have clicked on that before we tried to solve it. We haven't really spent much time looking at the hints. So this is what a hint looks like. Not great. And then we have to go back to click on another hint. I mean, they're okay. In general, I think you would be better off giving a bigger ladder of hints that gradually explain information. And it's a little weird that for some games we play, you've got the answer that you click on, and then it gives you the epilogue. Here, when you click on an answer, it tells you whether you're right or not, and then explains it to you, which is a little bit of an unusual choice. Like if we got it correct, we probably don't need the explanation. And maybe when you get it correct, it would be better served to have it give us the epilogue here about what happens when we get it right. Like if you clicked here, it should say you send people here and here's what happened when you do, rather than this explanation, have this in a separate area. The chat, Stacey says the hints we just saw were terrible. I think some of the hints are easier, but there's that. Okay, so another weird thing about the website, it almost feels like the website was an afterthought. And if you look, for example, notice chapter 4 had no online content other than answering the questions. What about chapter 3? Chapter 3, same thing. The only thing the website does is quiz you. Okay, so the second 2 chapters of the entire game just has the quiz, which is what the box suggests. But now, look at chapter 2. Chapter 2 has suspect and witness interviews that you're meant to read during the chapter, before the chapter. Now, we did get to these. We read them at the end. They're fine. But one of the other odd things is, look at what format these are. They're just scans of printed material. It's very odd to have this online. I don't know what the explanation of that is. Why weren't those in the folders if they're just witness statements, if they're just printed material? It's very odd that those weren't included in the game. Why did the game bother to have this in-game stuff? That was weird. And then another slightly weird thing having to do with the website is that there was exactly one exterior website that the game required us to go on. That was to log in with her password. It almost felt like they were like, well, we should add one extra little varied thing. It was weird. It seemed out of place. It just gave us a screen of information. It was fine. It just seemed a little out of place. And then there were a couple of places where it felt like we needed to do some internet research, whether it was the chemicals or not. And so that was a little odd that the game didn't tell us that we should use the internet to search for other stuff, but it kind of, I can't tell if it really required it. That was a little odd. I would have preferred some instruction, like don't use the internet to do external research, or yes, you'll need to use the internet to do extra research. Okay, so those are my 2 main complaints, and then I have 2 more, though. 2 more little complaints. So we did that they were easy. We did a whole bunch of complaints about the website. I think 2 other little complaints. One was that most of the deduction that was required of us and puzzle solving, mystery solving, felt, even when it was easy, it felt appropriate for this case. Like the case mostly felt quite real and adult and enjoyable. You know, you read a book, even you're enjoying the process, even though there's no deduction involved. So when a game is done well, it's enjoyable just to be along for the ride. But there was a section in chapter 2 which we have to take a little bit of blame for missing some differences in some photos. But there was a little, and one of the acts, the chapter 2, in the middle of chapter 2, felt really weird and cartoonish and out of place. And it almost felt like someone else did that, because that was just too silly. It was a silly scene where the guy was hiding in the garbage. And then there was the scene where he was in the taxidermy shop, and it was just like, if he owns the shop, then he's the guy. It was just very weird and out of place. But it was bookended by some great puzzles that were really enjoyable and felt realistic. So that one really stood out. I think probably if I was editing, critiquing this game, the other thing I might criticize a little bit is the separation, the micro separation, the fine grained separation into these envelopes, and the unevenness of the chapter lengths. So I think, like, in an ideal world, you'd want to build to a finale that's extra long and rich and scary. And I think they got it half right. Like, they did manage to make that finale chapter feel different. It had the cipher, it had the person in danger that we had a time thing to solve. But it is odd that we got a long chapter 1, and then we got, like, chapter 3 was super short. And then chapter 4 was pretty short too. And then some of the acts, the way it was broken up into these envelopes, were like 3 letters in the envelope. And I think this ties a little bit into the idea that the game was too easy, because one of the things that makes these cold case games and puzzle games in general sometimes a little more difficult is that you got like 15 documents and you're not sure what goes with what and what thing you're able to solve yet. But if you open an envelope and it's got 3 sheets of paper in it and you're told, use these 3 sheets to figure out where this person is going, you kind of, it's narrowed down the stuff you're working with quite a bit. So sometimes you still have to go get some documents from a previous folder, but I wonder if it wouldn't have worked a little bit better if they tried to balance the chapters a little bit better, and maybe instead of having 2 envelopes in each chapter, have 1. It's hard to say that, because normally I love when things are broken up into acts, but it felt maybe a little artificial here, where it's like solve this objective and then solve this objective, but really there was no reason to stage them. It's better if objectives are staged by things happening between them, or the fact that you couldn't do the second part until you've done the first part. I'm not sure that was true here. So those are sort of complaints, negative aspects, but really the take-home message here is this was a ton of fun and a very compelling story, and a great villain, very fun puzzles, huge variety of puzzles, great components. Lots of love went into this, it felt like to me. High quality stuff. The gimmicks here, when I play the Hunt the Killer games, I just get angry when I see the gimmicks. Here's a hat or a pin or a shirt, or in one of the Hunt the Killers, here's a black light. Now you're going to spend 2 hours trying to make out little letters. Whereas here, it was all fun. Everything was done calibrated well to be enjoyable. And the one gimmick of the black light was fun to use. It wasn't used much. It was actually done very cleverly, where we almost forgot about it, to the one place where it made sense to use it. Quite well done. And there were some hidden stuff that was very cool, like the chemical sheets. There was one puzzle where we got these chemical sheets of the chemicals being used, and it gave us this. I think it's been a while since we've talked about this in a game, and the game I remember doing such a good job are the adventure games. You look at something like this, and one of the marks of a good game is that look at all the work they went into to produce these 2 sheets about our 2 chemicals. Look at all the work that went into preparing this realistic looking sheet in order to hide just a little bit of key information. And that's the sign of a good game. Like, we looked at this, we read through the whole thing, and we were like these are in here, but they're not important, really. Like, a ton of work was put in to this stuff in order to properly hide a couple of items. And that's a good sign of a game. That's exactly what you want. You want the challenge to be to take this overwhelming amount of information and figure out what is here that's useful for me. Like, we noticed this big C. He writes it that way. Does he work here? Is this important? Are these dates important? Is the appearance important? Is the toxicity, like all of that stuff? And it turned out that really what we needed from this were the alternate names. For this one was a key trick to figuring out where they were ordered from. That was very clever and very satisfying. I wouldn't be surprised if some new players don't miss that completely. That was that might have been my most satisfying puzzle in the whole thing. And then we also had to figure out the storage, which was a little more of a constraint satisfaction puzzle, a little more standard. But that work paid off. If you're the person who wrote this game and went through all the trouble to do this in order to hide this information, and you finished and it took you a week to do, and you sat there asking yourself, was it worth it? Was it worth it? Should I have spent that much time doing this? The answer is yes. Yes, your work was appreciated. All right, let's check in with the chat. Any further statements? Hints were terrible. James says, I think the website docs were added later. You basically solved chapter 1 before going to the website, which just overemphasized what you'd already worked out. I think, yeah, that's a good theory that they may have added the website stuff later if people got stuck. John says, it felt a little more puzzle focused instead of deduction as it got to later acts. That's interesting. Okay. Any other thoughts on the game from the channel? I mean, I would in a heartbeat play more of these, even if they were just as easy. I'd love for them to make more of these that were harder. But if you can tell as good a compelling a story, I will play them even if they're easier. All right, well, we've been talking about it for a while now. I'd love to hear from the designers. I'd love to see more games. Maybe I should have searched for these designers at some point to see if they've done other games. I hope this gets the attention that it deserves. Like, if you were choosing between this and one of those standalone Hunt the Killer boxes, I just think it's so clear. This is so clearly a superior experience and a compelling experience. Okay. Great fun to play it with a group. When we complain about things being easy, we need to remember this is an experienced group playing here. So tomorrow I'll be off. On Friday, we will hit Suspects. I very much need the group to be here on Friday, not to help solve it so much as to help me figure out what I really think about Suspects and was my initial take on it true. All right. Friday, Saturday, Suspects, then Sunday, Dear Holmes at 3 p.m. and maybe another game of Suspects. A pleasure, as always. Really fun to share this with all of you, especially when it's a scary, creepy game. It's not fun to play these alone. It's fun to have a group to be scared with. All right, I'll see you all on Friday.